The wind carried a mournful song that morning, high and lonely through the cottonwood branches, like a widow whispering to the grave. Cole McCrae rode alone beneath a sky the color of tarnished silver, snowflakes tumbling slow around his shoulders. His horse, Huck, snorted softly with every step through the powder, hooves muffled in the hush. The land stretched out before him, vast and quiet, Wyoming winter plains where only the stubborn or the broken stayed behind. Cole was both. He hadn't meant to be out this far, not this time of year. But a black steer had gotten loose from his herd, and the tracks led toward Ghost Rock Ridge. That place had a name like an omen, and Cole didn't much like omens. But something tugged at him, low in his gut, a kind of familiar ache he hadn't felt in years. Not since Ellie disappeared. Not since the river took her. 12 winters back. Still, some mornings he woke and reached for her, hands searching cold bedsheets like a fool. He crested a rise, eyes scanning the pale landscape. The snow had fallen steady all night, laying a soft white sheet over everything, as if the land itself were sleeping. But up ahead, where the ridge curved like the back of a sleeping wolf, something moved. At first he thought it was a trick of the light. Then he saw the birds. Crows, black as dried blood, circling above a stone outcropping. Not diving, not feasting. Just hovering. Watching. Cole felt the breath catch in his throat. He nudged Huck forward. It wasn't until he was 30 feet away that he saw her. A woman. Tied to a stone with rawhide rope, her figure barely more than a bundle beneath the storm-gray sack covering her head. Arms bound behind her. Blood at her wrists. Snow settling into her braids. He dismounted slow, gun drawn. She didn't move. Didn't speak. Only breathed, chest rising just enough for him to see she was still alive. His boots crunched the snow as he neared. The cold bit into his knuckles, but he didn't feel it. Something older than weather was waking in him. A sense that he was stepping into the past. He pulled the sack from her head. And the world stopped. She blinked against the light, lashes heavy with frost. Her face, round, high-cheeked, smeared with dried blood and dust, looked up at him with a kind of dazed knowing. She didn't scream. Didn't flinch. Only met his eyes. And he knew. Not from reason. Not from logic. But from some bone-deep recognition he couldn't explain. Her eyes were the color of burning cedar. Ellie's eyes. But that wasn't possible. Ellie Wren had been dead for more than a decade. Swept away by the river after spring thaw. They'd searched for weeks. Found her shawl tangled in driftwood and called it done. There'd been a funeral. He dug her grave himself. And yet. He stared at the woman tied to the stone, heart knocking like a miner's pick against his ribs. She looked older, leaner, marked by years. Her skin was darker than he remembered. Her hair longer, streaked with gray and red clay. But her mouth, that soft, trembling line, was Ellie's. And her gaze, though heavy with distance, hadn't forgotten him. He whispered, "Ellie?" She said nothing. He cut the ropes. Her arms fell limp. She didn't fight or cry or run, just folded into herself like a bird too tired to fly. He wrapped her in his coat and lifted her onto Huck. She didn't protest, only leaned into his chest as though something in her had been waiting for this moment too. They rode through the snow in silence. Back at the cabin he built the fire high. Set her in the old rocking chair she used to sit in, back when the world still made sense. He spooned venison stew into a bowl and offered it with trembling hands. She took it. Ate slow. Didn't speak. And yet the silence between them pulsed with things unspoken. Memories stirring like smoke. That night, as she slept curled beneath his buffalo robe, he sat at the hearth and tried to piece it together. She couldn't be Ellie. Could she? He pulled out an old journal from the shelf, its leather cracked with age. Inside were poems, rough and aching, written in a younger man's hand. All for her. One page in particular he lingered over. A poem he'd written the night before she disappeared. The river don't take the willing, only the lost. If you go, girl, go with fire in your bones. Leave me a star and I'll follow. He felt a shift behind him. She was awake. Watching. She pointed to the page. You still write. Her voice was hoarse as if unused for years. But the timbre, the shape of it in the air, was hers. He turned to her slowly. Ellie? She flinched. I go by Ayanna now, she said. Silence bloomed like frost between them. He didn't push. Didn't ask why or how or what had happened to her. Just nodded once. The next day she didn't speak much. But she stayed. Helped feed the chickens. Watched the snow fall. Her eyes followed him, cautious but open, as though relearning the shape of him. And in the evenings he read from his journal. He didn't tell her how he'd lost himself after she vanished. How he'd spent years drunk or silent, punching fence posts and forgetting to breathe. How he'd buried his parents and didn't feel a thing. But she knew. You could tell when someone had swallowed grief. It lived in the bones. By the third night, she sat beside him by the fire and whispered, "They took me. Sold me south. I ran." He said nothing. "They called me half-blood. Said I wasn't worth feeding. I stopped speaking. Stopped being her." He looked at her then, eyes raw. "I looked for you." She nodded. "I know." She lifted her hand, touched his jaw like a question. Her fingers trembled. "You never stopped writing," she said. "No." "Then you didn't lose me." Outside, snow thickened. The window frosted over like memory returning. She leaned her head on his shoulder. The next morning, the sky opened pale and blue, and they walked together into the clearing. She stood barefoot in the snow, arms bare, skin lit by the cold sun. He took off his saddle strap and worked it into a loop. "I ain't got gold or vows," he said, "but I got this. And I got you. If you'll let me." She smiled, small and aching. "That's more than anyone ever gave me." He slipped the leather ring onto her finger. The snow fell softer now, almost like a blessing. They spoke no vows. Let the wind speak for them. That night, they lay beside the fire, not touching, not speaking, just breathing the same air, hearts beating slow. But danger still haunted the edges of the world. At dawn, Cole found tracks near the barn. Heavy boot prints. More than one pair. He scanned the tree-lean, body tense. Ayanna paled when he showed her. "They're looking for me," she said. "The men who tied me up. They don't let things go." He loaded his rifle. Hid her beneath the floorboards just as snow began to fall again. They came at noon. 3 of them. Hard eyes. Whiskey breath. Guns at their hips. "You seen a girl?" "Native. 20 or so. Might be bleeding." Cole looked them dead in the eye. "No girls here." They searched the cabin. Pushed over chairs. One of them kicked the stove. But they found nothing. Eventually they left. Cole waited until their hoofbeats vanished into the woods before lifting the floorboard. She came out shaking. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. "You're safe now," he said. "You're home." And for the first time she cried. Later, when the fire was low and the sky outside glowed like an ember, Cole picked up his journal again. He wrote not for himself this time, but for their future child, the one who'd ask someday how love could survive a river, 12 winters, and the cruelty of men. And he would write. Some loves take the long way back. They change their faces and names. They grow colder, wiser. But when they return, they're still yours. Always were. Then he closed the book. And kissed her fingers one by one beneath the snow.